Oh, yeah!
Ladies and gentlemen!
Are you ready for your moment of bliss?
Because what Poppy wants, Poppy gets.
Yowie wowie! I don't even know if that's PG! Acknowledge me! Woo! Oh, you didn't know? Well, let me tell you something, brother!
Welcome to the most must-see WWE talk show in history. Welcome to
the Cream of the Crop Wrestling Podcast.
The cream of the crop! Nobody does it better! It's still real to me, damn it!
Hello and welcome to The Bottom Line, a wrestling review giving you the gist of what happened. This is The Bottom Line of WWE Friday Night SmackDown, January 6, 2023. You're listening to the Cream of the Crop Wrestling Podcast, the podcast that's just ASMR of Rob and I rubbing our feet together. We are the Money Incorporated of the program. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Rob, and we'd like you to embrace the Kingdom of Madness by be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Pat, don't talk about that ever again. And secondly, we heard Roman raise his voice tonight. That scared me.
Oh man, we saw the tribal chief really just like kind of. He even admits it himself later on, where he kind of loses his temper a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's losing control a little bit. Kind of, it made me nervous. Do
you think the tides are partying on the island of relevancy?
I mean, we knew it was coming sooner or later. WrestleMania's down the road, so you gotta start the divide soon. We're in Rumble season. It is full steam ahead, good sir.
Well, let's dive right into it because SmackDown started just like Monday Night Raw did, with the Bloodline wrecking the place. This time, the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns came to the ring on his 858th day as undisputed champion. Champ seemed in high spirits at first, until things got a little grim when Roman hyped Sami Zayn and focused on how Sami got pinned by Kevin Owens last week. This was the first time we've seen Reigns take jabs at Sami, with him coming off very unhappy with Sami when he questioned him for calling the shot and not delivering. Kevin Owens broke the tension with a challenge for Roman at the Royal Rumble, telling Roman that his problem is not with Sami, it's with Kevin Owens. What do you think about this, Rob?
This was not the greatest of Bloodline segments in the ring. I thought their segments even later got better and better as the show went on, which was cool. But for this is the first time we saw Roman lose his cool, and the reason being is I believe this is the first time Roman's been on the losing end of any match since the last time he lost in 2019? I think 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. So like, it's a different feeling for him. It's an uneasy feeling. And when you're that good and you've been on that long of a run, he had to make sure to let everyone know he did not lose. Sami lost. He didn't lose. So he really wanted to show that. But the fact that it does go on the record books he lost, that didn't sit well with him. And so it was interesting to hear him go off like he did on Sami. Frightened me even. That was a very, very terrifying moment. You could tell Sami's doing a great job with his facials being scared as well. But then Kevin coming out and telling Roman what we all think is, Roman, you don't have a problem with Sami. You got a me problem. I'm the one that's causing you issues, and you're taking it out on him. And there's no stipulation yet for the match that was made. We all kind of saw the match coming down the pipe where it was going to be KO and it was going to be Roman. We've known that for a month now. So I'm curious to see if a stipulation gets added, because last time they had a match, it was last man standing. So I don't know if we're going to get any sort of stipulation along the road, or if it's just going to be a standard one-on-one match. That's not the thing I'm actually looking forward to the most. I am just waiting on pins and needles on when is the turn coming.
It almost seems like the turn is coming sooner than later, Rob.
I think you're right on that one. I'm hoping they can hold off till at least the Rumble and kind of let it play out from there. Just because, I'm fantasy booking my own thing for later in there, but I just kind of hope it at least stays off until the Rumble. I think it needs to be done on a bigger stage than just a random SmackDown. So that's my finger crossed, is make it happen in the Rumble. Make it happen in that match, and that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I have no doubts about that we'll see it happen on a bigger stage than just a random Raw or a random SmackDown. But moving on, earlier in the day, the New Day had a run-in with Legado del Fantasma, and this leads us to our next matchup, which is Kofi Kingston versus Santos and Escobar. Escobar worked over Kofi, causing Kofi to rally for the comeback, only to be foiled by interference from the outside. Legado del Fantasma, Del Toro and Joaquin Wild and Zelina Vega running interference, allowing Santos to hit the Phantom Driver for the win. Rob, what are your thoughts about this match?
Match was a little weird. You can tell they were trying to like foreshadow like how a Rumble works, and so the two guys were just doing like random both feet not hitting the ground stuff, which is weird to do in a singles match. So yeah, cool for your athletic purposes, I guess, but not what I wanted to see on this one. But otherwise, it was a fun match. I mean, it's Kofi and it's Santos. I love when Santos wins. Santos is one of my 2023 breakout stars. I think he has a chance to unseat, not really unseat Rey Mysterio, but I think he's the next big Latin star for WWE. So I was actually really excited to see him win. I want to see him get a really, really good push, and being a guy like Kofi is a good way to get there. The only thing I want to get away from, Triple H has been doing this a lot lately, and he's finding different ways to do it now, which I appreciate. Just get rid of distraction finishes all the time. Give me one episode of Raw and SmackDown where every match either just ends with a DQ or ends with just a straight up pin or submission, no distraction. That's the way to get out of it. Alexa Bliss, you didn't want her to take the pin yet on Raw, so what you guys did was DQ finish. Cool. Fine. I'm happy to move on from that. So I hope they can get away from distraction finishes and just either let someone outright win or do a DQ, a run-in to end it.
Next, Sami Zayn tried getting into the Bloodline locker room, but Paul Heyman acted as the bouncer for the Island of Relevancy, letting everyone but him in, basically telling him, "I told you so," confirming that there's some heat from Roman on Sami Zayn. What do you think, Rob?
This was fun. I like the Usos just kind of walking by Sammy, also letting him know that, hey, no matter what happens, you may have helped us out before, but we're always going to be with Roman regardless of anything.
They're on the
not
list.
Blood, so they are. Yeah, nice, excellent. So yeah, it's one of those things where like it was a really really fun moment, and man, the Bloodline storylines that they put into SmackDown, they never do it just one segment. It's always a long story throughout the entire show with smaller segments that lead to just awesome payoffs. And every time you go backstage with them, they knock it out the park. And this was another one. I mean, it's Paul Heyman, Sammy, and the Usos. All of it's great. And yeah, so nothing wrong with this whatsoever. Just added story to what we're going to get later.
Yeah, Paul did tell Sammy that, this leads back to last week where he iterated where he was like, the key to being on the Island of Relevancy is always being 3 steps ahead.
Absolutely. And this is one thing I talked about too, where Paul Heyman likes Sammy. I think Paul Heyman likes Sammy more than the Usos and Roman like Sammy. And so you could tell that there's like a little bit of sympathy for him where he's just like, man, I like you. So don't do anything stupid. I'm trying to help you so that everything's going to stay the same. And I think that's where the road is going, is it's just Paul is trying to help him, trying to be nice. But in the end, if Sammy doesn't do what he's supposed to do, Paul's just going to put his hands up and say, I told you so. But I always stay where my cash cow is, and my cash cow is Roman Reigns.
Well, next, Liv Morgan cut a promo telling us to watch her in the Royal Rumble match. Moving on, after recapping the Sister Abigail delivered by Uncle Howdy on Bray Wyatt last week, LA Knight was interviewed and cut a promo saying the megastar is the reason everyone is talking about the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. What are your thoughts, Rob?
If I have to hear it be called the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match every time, I'm going to be so pissed about this. I hate the corporate sponsorship on it. Okay. Like, I love hearing LA Knight talk, but okay. That's all I got. I don't know what kind of match this is going to be. I'm not looking forward to it. I'd rather just have it be a Bray Wyatt, LA Knight regular match. I'm more looking forward to see the reveals of Uncle Howdy and maybe more, etc.
I think that's a key thing here is we got a great feud going on between Bray Wyatt and LA Knight, right? It's been rather refreshing on the Bray Wyatt side. I think everybody can agree to that. But in WWE fashion, how do they ruin a good thing? Just something
Money.
randomly, just something,
Money.
something randomly stupid. It's just like, oh, who is that for? It's not for the, you know what I mean? Like, even little kid, like, I guess if you're a little kid, you're like, wow, that's cool. I drink that. What is?
The only thing going for it, and this is the only thing going for it, it's on a Royal Rumble pay-per-view. We're all going to be looking forward and remembering what happened on the Royal Rumble matches themselves. So if this were on, like, let's say, an Elimination Chamber, or if this were on some show like that, we would remember it because there's no other matches that are going to stick out to us that were huge. But it's a Royal Rumble, so it's kind of going to be hidden what's happened. And I think the reveals of Uncle Howdy and storyline is going to be way more memorable than whatever a Pitch Black match was. Excuse me, Mountain Dew. Pitch Black match.
Next, we got a mixed team match between Karrion Kross and Scarlett versus Madcap Moss and Emma. The match was a good setup of Kross getting the better of Madcap, and then Emma kind of got the better of Scarlett at the beginning, but then Scarlett had a good showing here. This is the first time we've seen Scarlett in a WWE ring. Scarlett sent Emma over the announcer's desk. Meanwhile, Karrion Kross hit the cross hammer, followed by the cross jacket for the win, with Madcap Moss passing out. When the match was over, Scarlett put a Rey Mysterio mask over Madcap Moss's head, and Kross put a tarot card on his chest of the Harbinger. What are your thoughts, Rob?
Match-wise, it was fine. It's nice to see Scarlett in the ring to see what she could do for the first time, because she never even wrestled in NXT either, so this was the first time for WWE fans in general to see her, and I thought she did an okay job. I would like to see more mixed tag matches, and if you have more couples and groups that can do it like this, that's awesome. So I really liked that a lot. I hope this was the end of this feud. Madcap is fine, but Karrion Kross is bigger than Madcap, so let's move on from this one. Storyline wise, it did lead to more though with the Mysterio thing, because they kind of put that on a back burner last week. You didn't get anything to do with that, so that was one of those that we're like, oh, are they gonna just kind of drop this? Nope, they're gonna continue forward with this. So I hope starting a little bit more next week we get a little bit of an up on what's going on between Kross and Rey. Maybe get some matches, because I just think it's gonna be a really, really fun feud. Otherwise, nice fun match. A little bit of a squash match for the. Can we call them the Crosses? Is that what we're calling them? Are they? Is that their name? Is it the Crosses? So a little bit of a squash match for that, but which is something that they needed. Good to see Scarlett in the ring, Karrion again. Karrion's Karrion, just knocking people out. So that was about it. Nothing too over the top on this one.
Well, next we got a hard-hitting conversation between Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, and they were at Jerry Lawler's Hall of Fame Bar and Grill, where they exchanged compliments while giving each other hard chops, saying they're going to take down the Usos later on tonight. What do you think about this promo, Rob?
Standard, Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, tough banga after banga kind of promo going on there. So I did like the little sponsor for good old Lawler's barbecue. So I guess we're taking a road trip down there soon, see if it's any good. Probably have some JR sauce as well, so it's going to be nice, fun, and dandy for us. I like the promo going into it. I was looking forward to this match immensely anyway, so I just think having little promos going into it is cool, because also McIntyre and Sheamus, we all know them as friends, things of that nature, but we haven't really seen them on screen as partners yet, so seeing them actually kind of do other stuff is necessary heading into the match. So otherwise, it was a nice, fun little banter from the guys. And speaking of fun banter, this is what we do here at Cream of the Crop. We like to talk wrestling. We like to banter about wrestling, and we like to give our opinions on the wonderful world of wrestling that has brought joy to our lives more often than not. So we would love for you guys to join us for that. every single week, every Raw, every SmackDown, and premium live event as well. And the only way to do that is to make sure that you're following us, make sure that you're liking us and subscribing us, and then sharing us with the rest of the world so we can have more wrestling fans join us for this awesome banter. So be sure to check the links down below. We have Facebook, we have TikTok, Instagram, Twitter as well. Anywhere you can find us, just look up Cream of the Crop Wrestling. You're going to find us. You're going to love us. And please, by all means, you tell a friend, they tell a friend, they tell a friend, and it's going to be wonderful. So thank you so much for the love and support you've given us already. We hope to have a little bit more of that going into 2023.
Charlotte Flair came to the ring for a promo where she told us she was overwhelmed by the reaction of her winning her 14th championship. But before she could fully turn heel, she was interrupted by crowd favorite Sonya Deville. Sonya, in heel fashion, called out Charlotte for acting in heel fashion last week when she challenged the champion immediately after already defending the title. This led to Deville challenging Flair for the championship and Charlotte winning with the figure 8. A decent match showing Flair as a fighting champion, but surprisingly no hint towards who will challenge Charlotte at the Royal Rumble. What are your thoughts, Rob?
For the promo itself, it was very odd. Charlotte came out. This is, I think, the first time. So we don't know if everything is scripted or not scripted, or if it's bullet points or what they're doing anymore. I think it's a little bit more bullet points. So this is our first non-scripted Charlotte promo out there in front of the fans. So it was a little different, a little interesting, I think. So I liked it when they started chanting "Thank you, Charlotte," and she literally goes, "Never thought I'd hear that from you guys." So that was something. So it was interesting to see her more as a human being and not. I thought vocally she didn't sound like robot Charlotte like she usually does. There's a lot of times where she comes out and she's like, "I am the queen. I am this," and so we didn't get that from her, which I enjoyed. So if it's babyface Charlotte, we really don't get that very often. So I'm in a wait and see approach. See if it works out. I don't think she can be a very good babyface just because she's a Flair and just freaking look at her. But we'll see. Sonya getting that cheap heat, calling everyone a hillbilly again, whatever. I want Sonya to get a bigger push than what she's getting because I love Sonya, but that's just a me thing. Match-wise, it was a nice squash match for Charlotte. I mean, nothing really happened too much in this. We kind of saw it coming. My biggest question was they didn't mention Ronda once. Like, that was just like an unforgotten. Everything was like Charlotte won the title. Ronda dropped it. Too. We're just going to move. We're going to move on from the most awful SmackDown title reign we've seen in a long time.
That's what I'm saying. There's no hint. There was, no hint towards even a rematch. Especially with it was almost like an open challenge type deal. Type situation, to where it was just not even an open challenge. It was just, Bill comes down and challenges Charlotte for the title, and Charlotte accepted the challenge. So moving forward, Bill lost. Charlotte's without an opponent, and after this show, it's going to be 2 weeks after the Royal Rumble.
And I'm actually okay if Charlotte doesn't have a match at the Rumble because we're going to have Alexa and Bianca. We're going to have the Roman and KO match, and we're going to have the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. I wanted to say that properly for our non-sponsors, but could be a sponsor, Mountain Dew. Come on, you want to. And then we have 2 Rumble matches. And I think Triple H is still trying to keep the Rumble pay-per-view at 4.5 hours. Those 5 matches could take those 4.5 hours, and that's it. So not every title needs to be defended at every pay-per-view. So I'm okay if she doesn't have an opponent and she just either does a promo talking about she's ready and willing to take on whoever wins the Rumble, etc. Or maybe, just something like that. I am perfectly fine with that.
Well, next we got another video package hyping the return of Cody Rhodes. Seeing him being promoted on both shows is pretty interesting, Rob.
You mean our future champion? He's the one that's going to end up having to be a
winner, perhaps?
Yeah, future everything. It's the Triple H push from 02. They did vignettes on Raw and SmackDown for Triple H for his recovery of his torn quad. They gained a lot of sympathy and also talking about a lot of his destiny and legacy and what he wants to achieve. And it's literally just mimicking that 21 years later here in 2003 with Cody. So it worked for Triple H, made him the ultimate mega babyface at the time. Cody was already the ultimate mega babyface, so it's perfect. That's all. It's just perfect.
Well, let's move on because I want to talk about the next thing that happened because we got another video package but this one was of Lacey showing off her combat skills with the highlight being her using the Cobra Clutch. Rob, tell these maggots who else used the Cobra Clutch.
The only thing that's going to make this enjoyable is if your prediction comes true of good old Sergeant Slaughter coming back to
goosebumps, Rob.
to
It
be
gave
her
me
manager.
when she said literal goosebumps and just tears of joy to my eyes. I love this. It's cheesy, sure. Even if you don't want to bring in the Sarge, and this is just another Marine using the Cobra Clutch. I'm here for it. I'm here for the new Lacey Evans, and I can't wait because I'm a big fan of Sergeant Slaughter.
This is repackaged number like 14 for her. So I've been Lacey Evans'd out. The only thing that could make me like it is Sergeant Slaughter being by her side.
Well, moving on, the next thing we got was the Royal Rumble qualification match. Ricochet versus Top Dollar. This match is a result of last week's jokes being made at Top Dollar's expense. The rest of Hit Row was at ringside, and Top Dollar showed more aggression here, having something to prove after last week's top rope botch. But Ricochet would come out on top with the win, hitting the moonsault for the pinfall. But afterwards, Ricochet would go for a handshake. And to no surprise, I think we all seen this coming, Ricochet was beat down by all of Hit Row. To another not surprising development, Braun Strowman comes out to make the save. Hit Row finally turned heel, and this is confirmed. And then I think another thing confirmed here, Rob, is Ricochet and Braun Strowman become a tag team in the future. What are your thoughts?
Match-wise was what it was. We rarely ever see Ricochet get a squash match, but that's what happened here. The turn for Hit Row, we saw it coming because of last week, but also I think it's a good way because they were getting no reaction at all from any of the crowds. And so I think this is a good use of them because, hey, you weren't working as baby faces. This is kind of your last chance. Let's try to use heels, see how well this comes off. We'll see what happens on that front. And then with Strowman coming out, I actually do like these guys as a tag team. Everyone knows I've talked about it before. I'm not the biggest of Strowman fans, but I understand his necessity for being on the roster because he's a big dude, and the crowd. The crowd loves to go raw when he comes out. He gets a big pop, and these two together actually could make a really good, a really good duo. I think there's a lot of fun moves that they could do together. I would love to see Ricochet do like a shooting star press off the top of Braun's shoulders, just like moves like that. That could be a really, really fun way to do it. Also, the tag team division is a little lackluster. I think this adds a little bit more star power to it, especially if there are two guys that really don't have a whole lot going on. So while the whole segment itself was fine, in the end, we got a heel turn for the tag team that needed something to freshen them up, and we kind of got a new tag team, which I think actually could be a formidable tag team of the future.
Well, next we go to Roman Reigns' locker room, where he's called Sami Zayn in for a sit-down. And Sami tried apologizing for giving the wrong impression. But Roman didn't accept the apology, because he's the one who's sorry for not keeping his cool and losing his temper and taking it all out on Sami Zayn. He admits that his real problems are with Kevin Owens, and it's not Sami's fault. But this is when things kind of take a little turn again when Paul Heyman informs Sami that he has an opportunity to redeem himself next week because it'll be Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. The Usos' main event was getting ready to start, and Sami Zayn tried to leave to attend the match, but Roman insisted he stay and watch the match with him in the locker room. What do you think about this, Rob?
I have said it before, and I will say it again. Roman has the most abusive boyfriend vibes I've ever gotten from any wrestler. Is he just master manipulator where he's, telling Sami what he wants to hear, apologizing for the terrible things he did earlier. He lost his temper. That wasn't your fault. I'm sorry. That was my fault. It was other things doing that. Kevin Owens. And then just Sami's like, well, I'm going to go out there and help him out. No. Come, stay with me. Hang out in here. Watch the match with me. So, Dude, everything about this just screams manipulation, just screams, I'm sorry I did that. Let me put you at ease right before I'm going to do it again to you, but even worse later down the road. So I'm also excited for the match next week. Anytime we're going to get KO and Sammy in the ring, which happens all the time, I love it every time, so I don't really care. And gosh, man, next week, I'm so scared for Sammy. I don't know if, like, every week now I'm like on my pins and needles, like, is this the week? Is this the week? I don't know if this is gonna be a week. And now, like, we're gonna get a KO Sammy main
It's
event.
good, though.
Oh gosh, I'm so nervous about it. But yeah, everything about this is what I talked about earlier, where every segment got better and better, man. And it's just, this is it.
Well, speaking of getting better and better, let's talk about the main event of the show. The Usos defend their championships against Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. Sheamus and McIntyre look like a well-oiled tag team machine, but the Usos have been champions for 537 days for a very good reason. And one being the numbers game, because they came out with the win thanks to a little help from Solo Sikoa. One of the best things was throughout this match, we saw a couple of cuts back to the locker room with Roman Reigns sitting with Sammy and Paul Heyman. And the first time we see Sammy with some popcorn, and he tries to offer the tribal chief, and Roman looks a little offended at the offer, and then it cuts back to the match, and it cuts back again later on, and then all three, Paul Heyman, Sami Zayn, and Roman, each have their own bucket of popcorn. Rob, what are your thoughts about this match?
Match-wise, we'll just talk about this just because this was so much fun to watch. This was really, really good tag team wrestling right here, and I knew we were going to get that because we talk all the time. I mean, Usos are the best tag team in maybe all of wrestling right now, for sure, in WWE. But we talked about this last week where Sheamus has been one of the most underrated tag team wrestlers of like the last 4 years. I mean, what he did with Cesaro in the Bar was fantastic. So, I mean, he cannot be understated on how good of a tag team wrestler he is.
Well, the Usos won by the skin of their teeth.
Oh, I know. Oh, so good. So good. A lot of great near falls. I mean, the crowd ate this up. I ate this up watching it on my recliner. So good. I hope we get to see it another time. And I love so I hate a roll-up finish, but I love this roll-up finish. Give me the roll-up finish where then you're having that tag team member helping out in a way that we don't see very often. That's a moment that is different. Number two, that also gives leverage to the challenging team to maybe get another shot down the road, which I would love to see these guys get another shot down the road. We'll see if it happens. But the backstage stuff, such good comedy. Like, just Sammy coming by with the popcorn, Roman giving him a look like, what the hell why would I want this? And then they go away and they come back, and not only does Roman have his own bucket of popcorn, but so does Paul Heyman, and they're just both so invested, and it's just Sammy's like a weed, man. He just gets you, and then he just sprouts all over you, and it's so good, and it's so funny. And we talk. Okay, so a little behind the scenes. Him and I talk. Me and Pat talk for about an hour and a half before every show, and just talking about wrestling in general. And the one thing that we're so sad about is when this storyline ends, because it has brought such joy to my wrestling shows for the last 6-ish months. I am just going to be so sad. I know the end is coming soon. I'm
scared for
it really
after
is.
WrestleMania. I don't know what's going to happen at Mania. I don't know what's going to happen after Mania. All I know is once this bloodline stuff is done and over with, and we see this thing all the way through, it's going to... I don't have anything else to look forward to.
I feel that this is, and I've told you this is a good thing that we don't know. So we are equating this, where older fans out there, I've equated this to the NWO because I think the bloodline has been so impactful in wrestling to that level, just not the longevity, which is a good thing. WCW's issue is they didn't know how to stop the NWO when it ended. Like, it should have ended, Sting should have won cleanly, we'll move on, things of that nature, etc. But they kept it going because of monetary reasons, and they also just had no idea what to do afterwards. I think that's going to be Triple H's biggest challenge is once Mania hits, and let's just assume the Usos lose the titles, let's assume Roman lose the title, and just Roman takes some time off, Solo Sikoa kind of goes on his own a little. Let's just assume it all disbands. that's Triple H's clean slate, and that's Triple H's real first challenge as a booker of what's next for your biggest story.
And it's what's going to be what's best for business, because like you said, you don't want this thing to drag out. You don't want it to get long in the tooth.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to have a finality. Like this WrestleMania to us is always the ending of a season, and so they actually need to end it, which is and don't make it drag on too long, because what'll happen is the legacy of this story, if it ends perfectly and it ends how it should, we're going to remember and talk about this. It's going to be great. But if you just keep it going, that's what people remember about the NWO is they'll talk about that 96 when it happened. Yeah. And they'll talk about it all the way up to 97. But then everything after that, they never give good compliments to.
Don't you dare bring up NWO silver and black. I don't want to hear it.
I won't. Finger poke of doom. I won't. Yeah, So, yeah, but that's the thing we're talking about. Is if they can end the story perfectly, and then move on to new stuff, because you're building new stars. There are new stars there, but if you can move on to new stuff, this is going to be a storyline that we will. I mean, we'll talk about it like we talked about the Summer of Punk. We're going to talk about it like we talk about. Just the Austin McMahon storyline. It'll be on those levels because it's just been that damn good.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's our program. You can embrace the madness with a like, leave us a comment, be sure to subscribe. All of our content can be seen on YouTube. Check out our TikTok, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. All the links are in the description below. Until next time, I'm Patrick.
And I'm Rob.
And we thank you for listening to the Crop Wrestling Podcast. Good night.
Thank you for listening to Cream of the Crop Wrestling. You can embrace the madness by finding us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cream of the Crop Wrestling. Follow us on Twitter at Cream of the Crop W. Subscribe to our YouTube channel by typing Cream of the Crop Wrestling in the search bar. Have fun with us on TikTok at Cream of the Crop Wrestling. And you can always find full episodes of the podcast wherever podcasts are found.
Nothing means nothing.
Nothing means nothing. What do you mean by that?
More, I'm talking about all the way to the top, yeah. Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in. But the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah. You know that I'm the cream of the crop. The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better.
Oh yeah.